What's up, guys? It's Peyton. Gonna do something a little bit different today than we normally do. Obviously, this is gonna be primarily a boot channel, footwear, workwear, things like that. But one thing I think goes hand in hand with that is everyday carry and things of that nature. So what we're gonna go over today is what I call my truck bag. This is what goes in my truck every day when I go to work, whether I'm running around town doing errands. It's just the bag that goes in the truck with me. And it has a bunch of different things in here to help me effectively do my tasks throughout the day. And also, in case something bad happens, an unfortunate situation arises, it gives me a little bit more leadway as far as the things I can accomplish and the amount of preparedness that I'm able to achieve with just a small backpack like this. This is not a bug out bag. This is not a survival bag necessarily. This is not even a get home bag. This is not a designated bag. This is literally an everyday stuff I need, stuff I may need, things in case the worst case scenario was to happen that could help me effectively get somewhere I needed to get to, or be able to help myself if nobody else was around to help. So let's just jump right into it. The bag itself is a GoRuck GR1. This is the 21 liter, the smaller one. I got it in a gray color. It does have some moly webbing on it, but not a whole lot. It's pretty reasonable as far as the way it looks, in my opinion. So we're just gonna jump right into it. On the outside of the bag here, I just have two G2 Pilot pins. You never know when you'll need a pin. So that's pretty simple. And then when you open up the compartment here, the top compartment, extra pair of socks. These are darn tough work socks. We'll get into socks at a later date. We need to do a whole video on socks, but socks are not that exciting to most people. But once you buy a pair of high quality socks, you'll never go back. So an extra pair of work socks, socks in general, your feet, again, obviously this is primarily a footwear channel. Your feet are important. If your feet fail you, if your feet go out of commission, you're dead in the water right there. So darn tough socks. The spare Zen can, just in case, just throw it in there. Again, I haven't looked at this bag in probably a week, so that was just there from previous me. I actually do go in this bag and use stuff out of it. This is a first aid kit. It's pretty basic, nothing special. It's got different bandages, some tape, small scissors, triple antibiotic ointment, small doses of ibuprofen, things like that, alcohol wipes, tweezers. This is very remedial, but in a pinch, it really does help a lot to just have some basic first aid. I actually used this recently. I was doing some tree work and, my not paying attention as much as I should, hot, tired, been out there all day. The saw actually jumped into my hand and cut my finger pretty badly, and had to bust that out and use it. So it does come in handy, but that's one of those things in there that even though every day it can be useful, it's more for a worst case scenario. Okay, tucked in the back here, in the moly webbing, I have a titanium spork with a long handle. Very sturdy, very strong for what it is. It weighs literally nothing. Very easy to carry, and again, it just tucks right back there in that moly webbing on the back of the pack. And we can go into this pack in a later video too. I'm just showing y'all what I carry. Also tucked in the moly webbing, I have an extra ferrocerium rod, good for starting fires in a pinch if you need to. It's definitely worth having. They don't cost anything hardly. They don't weigh anything. I forgot where I got this when I got it years ago, and it's just always kind of been carried around. So Sorry, I'm trying to put stuff back in as I go so I don't just completely destroy this thing. Have to redo it all. All right, next to that, we have the smallest pair of Knipex, spelled Knipex, Cobra pliers. When I was a diesel technician, I had the entire set of Knipex pliers. I still do, but these are the best pliers in the world, and I will argue with anybody. I have no factual evidence to back that up. Just from using them, they grip well, they're heavy duty, they're tough, super easy mechanism. Some of them have the mechanism where you just twist it and slide it. This one actually has the button, which I prefer. And again, I'm a huge fan of these, and these are awesome. These will outdo a set of multi-tool pliers any day of the week. I'm not against carrying multi-tools. They definitely have their place, but to have a good pair of pliers for anything in your kit is worth having. So those just kind of hang back into MOLLE webbing as well. So here we have 100 feet. This is literally military surplus cordage. That's a 110-pound test. It's not bank line or anything like that. I got a 100-foot roll of it for $3. Okay, and it's wrapped around what is called a spool tool, S-P-O-O-L tool. You can get them on Amazon. It comes with a cutter where you can just slide the cordage through, cut your length off. It holds it well. It's nice and neat. It doesn't weigh much at all. And it also has a lighter clip on the side for a mini Bic lighter, which normally is actually in there. I don't know where it is. So again, very impromptu video, but normally it's in there. So 100 foot of that. This is a time cat tourniquet. Again, this is definitely a worst case scenario kind of situation, but in a scenario where you need it, it's worth having one. They literally don't weigh anything. And yes, there are ways you can get around it with belts and sticks and cordages and all this stuff, but this is one-hand operational, easy to use, easy to understand, and it's made for the task, and it doesn't weigh anything, and it doesn't take up much space. Again, I know a lot of people strap this to the outside of their packs, on their arms, or on the back on the MOLLE, or on their shoulder straps. This is a very low-key pack, and what I mean by that is, if I get out of the truck and I'm walking around, I don't want it to look like I'm marching into some bad shit. You know, I want this thing to be able to be approachable, where I can move through places relatively unnoticed, at least as best I can. So tourniquet, very useful in the worst case scenario. So let me get this out of here. This is just a 3 foot by 3 foot, I'm not gonna unfold it all the way, 100% cotton, bandana type deal. Feels just like a t-shirt that I got from Army Surplus Store. I think I paid $1.50 for it. It's 3 by 3. This is great for a multi-purposes of use. This is great for a multiple, I don't know what I'm trying to say. Either way, this is great to have. You can filter water into your water bottle with it. Obviously, it has first aid. It can act as a cover element for your head during extreme heat. It could help some with wind chill and around your neck and stuff if it got too cold, but that's not really what it's for. You can wet this and drape it over your head for temperature regulation. But just a plethora of uses for this. Very simple. Again, doesn't weigh anything. This pack is very light. I think this pack comes in at like 17 pounds when it's fully loaded. And that's when the water bottle's full of water, which I don't keep it full of water most days because I have water in the truck. And the water bottle is not really meant to transport water all the time. It's meant to be a water purification system more than anything else, which we'll get into that. So 3 by 3, 100% cotton. I can use it to make char cloth as well. One of the heavier items in the bag is definitely going to be this. This is a Silky Gomboy. I think it's a Gomboy folding saw. It's not super heavy, but it is take up some room, and it is heavier than most of the stuff in the pack. I do keep it in its container here just because I don't have a reason not to. It doesn't take up enough room in the pack for me to worry about it, given that I still have room left over in this pack once it's fully loaded. This will allow me to process wood if I need to. Honestly, if I'm using this pack for the worst case scenario, it will probably be in more of an urban setting, but you never know when you might need this. And it's just useful to have, and I like having it in the pack. So this is something that a lot of people I feel like don't think about, and maybe it's just me geeking out over leather and stuff like that. This is a leather repair kit. It has a small set of snipping scissors for sewing. Let me just open it up and show y'all. So we got a small set of scissors. I got them wrapped because there is oil on them to keep them from corroding. I have a single hole leather punch in there. I have a assortment of different needles. These are curved needles, long needles, straight needles, everything you can imagine, different variances in diameter. I have 2 different spools of cordage. Dropping stuff. 2 different cordage, 2 different spools of thread, same exact thread, one's black, one's brown. I have an awl that I can use to punch holes in leather. The punch is more made for bigger holes. This is more for fine work like the thread. And then I have another 2 full of a bunch of different needles as well. These are all straight needles, but these get to 2 inches in length and a much heavier duty diameter. So I like to have them. And just bear with me, guys. I'm trying not to just completely destroy this whole deal, but all right. So moving on, we have a stainless steel, unlined, single-walled water bottle and a nesting cup. This will allow me to boil water if I need to. It will allow me to cook if I need to. It allows me to measure things out. This is a 32-ounce water bottle. The reason I like the 32 ounce, we'll get into that in a second, but it just sits in the bag. Again, it's not normally full of water. I can make char cloth with the nesting cup and the bottle if need be as well. I have an SOL survival bivvy. This is not some super heavy duty monster shelter, but it will help if the time comes and I need to regulate body temperature. It can be useful in that. Again, this is not a designated wilderness survival kit. It's not a designated urban survival kit. This is literally the catch-all of stuff I might need on a day-to-day basis if something bad happened. So SOL bivvy, it's got the whistle on the end of it, in case you ever needed that, I guess. This is a 3-prong frog gig, fish spear, things like that. One thing I'm not going to talk about in this video is firearms. That being said, procuring food and also protection is going to be a big deal, obviously, if you get into a situation that is not ideal and it goes past a certain amount of time. This is not a sustainable long-term kit, but this doesn't weigh much. It's flat. It sits in the bottom there, and it could allow me an opportunity to catch fish, frogs, which we have a lot of in this area that I live in. Or if push comes to shove, not my first choice, it could be used for protection if it had to. And you'll see a lot of redundancies as far as tools go, for the strict fact that tools are the most important thing you can have in a survival situation, other, and maybe even including what you're wearing. But I do believe what you're wearing is going to be your first line of defense, whether it's urban, whether it's wilderness, whether it's get home, whether it's bug out, long-term, short-term, it doesn't matter. What you're wearing matters. That's why I like footwear so much, because I'm a big believer in if you're going hunting and you got a $2,000 rifle set up and you got a $100 pair of boots, you're just missing the entire point of having a good gear. You're just geeking out over what you like and not really paying attention to what you need to successfully do the job. So, but yet again, I'll ramble and digress on that. So let's keep moving. Fishing / frog spear. I got this off Amazon. I do like this. This is called the Deluxe Survival Fishing Kit, Rule the Wasteland. I'm not going to open it up because I made that mistake when I got it. It's a damn nightmare to get everything back in here. It has an assortment of smaller hooks, fishing line, small bobbers, small weights, which I can then crimp with the pliers. It just has a bunch of different little things in here that could effectively help in small fishing endeavors. Basically brim and smaller, which yet again in a survival situation is a big difference maker. You know, anything is great when it comes to calories when you're struggling. So again, it's relatively small, about the size of a hockey puck. I don't know what I paid for it. It wasn't that expensive, but really cool little piece of gear, piece of kit. And yet again, we have a metal container that if I wanted to, I could poke a small hole in and make char cloth with. So multi-purpose on that. All right, everybody, this one's unopened, 100 foot, a 550 paracord. Again, military surplus all day long. I paid $8 for this one. I did get a darker color. Brighter colors do have a purpose in the sense you can see them. They can be used in different applications. But I wanted a darker color because, again, this is also made to not just be wilderness, not just be urban, but to be a mixture. And if I'm in an urban setting, I'm not wanting to stand out very much, most likely. I'm trying to go unnoticed as much as possible. So 550 paracord, 1,001 uses. Between that and this surplus cordage that I have on the spool tool, I have 200 foot of cordage, various different tensile strengths and weights. At the bottom here, this is an old 12-year-old first edition Pathfinder haversack that I have had for, like I said, 12 years at least. And wax canvas, tough as nails, never had a problem tearing it up. And in the lid of it, I'm not going to take it out because it's been in there so long, is a cloth sail needle, which is by far the heaviest duty needle in the kit. This is made for heavy duty repairs if it absolutely needed to. I do have the other needles, but this thing is stout. Like, you're not going to break this cloth sail needle unless you really are trying to. All right, that should be all for the main pocket. Moving on to some of the interior pockets. I have a voice recorder, just a cheap Sony voice recorder. Got one earbud so you can play back. This allows me to document things I see, hear, things I want to make note of or record of. I have this, and I do normally have a notebook with me as well. It's not in here right now. It's actually in the truck because I was using it to write work notes on. But this can be very handy in a situation where you need to record thoughts in long form and don't really want to have time to write it. You can also record other people if you need to. So very useful in a very specific situation. Other than that, in this top pocket, we have a K&R compass, very good compass, very high quality compass. It does have a mirror in here with the slit in it if you want to use it for signaling. It also has a magnification lens on the base. But compass for general direction if I can't see the sun, the sky, if something's going wrong with the weather that day, it's nice to have a compass. Water purification tablets. The purification tablets and the PA Plus. This is just a redundant water purification system to my cup. It's over here. This just allows me to purify water, and it measures in 32 ounce. You know, so that allows me to know exactly, okay, if this bottle's full, how many tablets I need to put in that bottle to make it drinkable and safe to drink. Make sure I'm not missing anything here. All right. So tools. I have a lot of different knives from when I was super big into bushcraft and survival. The one I keep in here is just the Pathfinder 1, the PLSK 1 from Blind Horse Knives, 3/16 thick, '01 tool steel, Scandi grind, micarta handles, tough as nails. You can beat on this thing all day. It also has this Kydex leather hybrid sheath that locks if I want it to. In a situation where things go wrong to the point where this kit has to come out in full form, this will come out first and be on my belt. It's not in the bottom of the bag. It's actually in a slot on the back of the bag. It can be pulled out very, very quickly without moving any of this other stuff. I'm just kind of going through this haphazardly because, again, one take. I'm not trying to edit stuff here and drag it out. So Pathfinder PLSK 1, 90-degree spine, high carbon tool steel, great knife. I have 2 SOL emergency space blanket, just reflective Mylar blankets. These are a little bit tougher version of those, with that little abrasive resistant material on the outside. Just another form of shelter. Again, I don't have anything in here that's made to be like, okay, this is a wilderness survival shelter. This is an urban survival shelter. This is meant to be a catch-all. And that's what these are. Those with the bivy, with the cordage, I could effectively help myself pretty well as far as shelter, especially if I'm wearing the proper clothing for that time. I have a smaller knife. This is a Blind Horse knife as well. Beautiful knife. This was one of their limited editions. I was on the Blind Horse, I forgot what they called it now, the bunkhouse or firewood shed or something like that. And this was one of 100 made. It is a beautiful knife. Just a standard drop point, ergonomic handle, curly maple scales with black G10 liners, brass pins. Again, just a beautiful knife. It does have a 90-degree spine, but it stays back there as well as a cutting tool, a redundant cutting tool. Because again, in my book, tools are going to be the most important thing for you in a bad situation. Okay. On the side here, another folding knife, or a folding knife, which is just a Civivi, awesome little knife, kind of like a Tonto shaped blade, super light, very cool knife, very sharp. It's got that defined point in case I need to do any kind of first aid or really fine tip work, whether it be on myself or on equipment or repairs. So it'll be great for that. And it just clips right in there in the molly webbing as well. And sorry if I'm fumbling a little bit. Some things I'm trying to make sure I find it all because, like I said, it was not well thought out video. All right, moving on to the front pouch here. A thing of moleskin, blister prevention, very useful. I mean, if you've ever had blisters tearing your feet up, then they will take you out. And again, I am a big believer in your feet are your lifeline. Your feet are your transportation in a bad situation. That was not meant to rhyme, but it turned out that way. So, moleskin, very light, doesn't weigh anything, very useful. This is a Life Straw. I forgot what model this is. Again, this is a redundant water purification. Especially where I live, it is extremely, extremely hot, extremely humid during the summer. You have to stay hydrated or you're not going to make it 10 miles in the middle of the summer. I don't care how tough you are or how much gear you have in your pack. So, a Life Straw with the water purification tablets, with 32-ounce stainless steel cup, a 32-ounce stainless steel water bottle and nesting cup. I'm pretty squared away as far as water purification. Finding water is not the problem where I live. It would strictly be making it drinkable. So this is just a very simple Costa headlamp. Has 3 different brightness settings. It also has red and green for signaling or anything else you might need. I use this when I used to work offshore. It always served me well. Very simple. Takes a couple AAA batteries and it's rocking and rolling. And I do keep spare batteries in here normally too, but I actually used them this week. So got to replenish that again. Very useful to have a lighting source, especially if you're going to have to travel at night in any kind of terrain. Also useful for, again, first aid, repairs, things like that, to be able to see what you're doing. Lastly, in this first pocket up here in the front, it's just a 1-inch roll of Gorilla Tape, which has definitely been slightly melted by this heat that I live in, but still 100% good. Very useful, flammable, first aid, equipment repair on the fly. 101 uses for duct tape. You know, everybody knows. Whether it's this, whether it's normal duct tape, the reason I use 1 inch is because it's easier to, it's more compact, easier to transport. And again, I find it to be more useful than the 2-inch in a long term, like in an everyday type use scenario. Make sure I'm not missing anything in here. We got one more pocket down here. Alright, last thing in here is yet another tool. I do have some allergy medication in there, but that's not necessarily part of the kit. It's just my own stupid allergies give me problems. So this is the last tool, last piece of kit in the bag. It is just a leather sheath that houses a blind horse knives spear point. Again, could this be used to procure food? Yes. Is it something you're really going to want to do, chasing something around with a spear? Probably not, but you could. But primarily, it's just another cutting tool. It's got a good spear point on it, obviously. Double-edged blade, sharp, easy to carry, doesn't weigh much, sits in this sheath flat. Again, versatile piece of kit that doesn't weigh a lot. And last, tucked right in the front of it, is this EDC AH1 arrowhead. Again, could it be used to procure food? I guess if you wanted to go through the problem of building a bow, but that's more of a long-term sustainability type scenario. And you're not going to get that far with one arrow unless you're just the shit or you're really lucky. This is, again, a redundant cutting tool. I can hold it between my fingers. I can dig splinters out. Very sharp point. I can use it to, if I had to drain abscesses, to do things like that, dig ingrown nails out. I know this all sounds nasty, but these are things you have to consider long term if you're going to be traveling miles. This is not made, in my opinion, this is not for me to procure food. That's going to lean more towards the fishing side of things, at least in my area, if I needed to. And then if we ended up being a longer term scenario, I would have to go a different route. This is, again, a catch-all bag, things I might need. So, EDC arrowhead tucks right here in the front, sits down there flat. Oh, also, I don't know why I didn't say this, diamond knife sharpener. Coarse side, fine side. This was made by Smith's. I have a Lansky diamond rod in the truck, in the console, but this allows me to maintain my edges on my knives. Again, could the knives rust? Yes, but that's the same thing about carrying boot conditioner in my bag. This is not meant to be a long-term sustainability kit. This is meant to be light enough that I can carry in urban, wilderness, anything I need to do, and it helped me to effectively get where I'm going, or help me to get through everyday tasks that I may need without struggling too bad. Again, I'm not going to carry knife oil. I'm not going to carry boot oil and conditioners and all this stuff. That's way longer term. This knife can rust all it wants in 3 days, or even a week and a half, and it's not going to hurt the functionality of these knives in that short of a time frame. It's just not. So Either way, that's it. That's what's in my bag. Again, it goes in the truck every single day. It goes everywhere with me. And I think it's important that everybody has something that can make themselves more versatile in a bad situation. Again, I didn't talk about firearms. That is obviously something I believe in very heavily, is having a firearm with you. But it's just not really my thing. I don't really want to talk about them, so I'm not going to. But either way, God bless y'all. Thank y'all for watching. I hope y'all like something a little different. If not, boots will be back very shortly. I have 4 different unboxings coming up of boots I've been waiting for a long time. Super excited about. So that's coming up. I've got more reviews, more comparisons, more brand highlights. All that stuff's going to be coming down the pipeline. So God bless y'all. You and your family stay safe out there. Thank y'all.